Hello out there, everybody. Manny here at Area 503. And I hope you all have been well since our last video. Today I want to talk to you all about monoliths. So obviously, monoliths have been a part of our culture for quite some time. But what exactly is a monolith? Computer, can you define a monolith for us?
A monolith is a large single upright block of stone, especially one serving as a pillar or monument. Notable examples include Stonehenge and the Easter Island statues.
Okay, so a monolith is simply an upright stone, and human beings have been fashioning monoliths into artwork and icons for thousands of years. But back in November of 2020, a strange man-made monolith was discovered in a Utah wilderness. Check this news clip out.
A photographer says he watched Utah's now famous monolith fall to the ground last weekend. The structure captured worldwide attention after being discovered in a remote area southwest of Moab. How it ended up there is still a mystery.
But tonight, we know how it vanished. Fox 13's Lauren Steinbrecher spoke to a photographer who shared what a group of people said as they hauled the monolith away in pieces.
Ross Bernards goes on adventures for a living.
I'm an adventure and outdoor lifestyle photographer. That's what I do for a living. So my job depends on me finding unique and cool places.
The Colorado photographer and canyoneering expert often finds himself in some of the most remote spots in Utah. When a middle-of-nowhere place southwest of Moab found itself in the middle of an international monolith mystery last week.
I wanted to go out there and try light painting with my drone.
On Friday, Ross made the several-hour trek out. They ended up with the monolith all to themselves for about an hour for nighttime pictures, until some other visitors came walking up.
There's 4 of them. 2 of them stand back, 2 of them walk forward and walk up to the monolith and start pushing on it a little bit. And then one of them turns to my friends who are a little bit further up the canyon next to it, where I was a little further back, and said, hope you got your photos, and then just gave it a couple of big pushes, and it just leaned over. And that's when the rest of them came up, and all 4 of them pushed it over to the one side and then pushed it back to the other side, and it just fell straight onto the ground.
Just like that, Ross watched the monolith that captivated and mystified people across the globe topple over.
Right after it had fallen over and made a loud thud, one of them said, this is why you don't leave trash in the desert. And as they were loading it up and walking away, they just said, leave no trace, and left.
Fast forward to the next morning, the message from the monolith demolishers on his mind. Ross would find he was hardly the only person who set out to see this strange metal sculpture in person.
It was just, you could see the road from the dust just coming up, and you could just see car after car coming and going. I mean, we probably saw 70 or 80 different cars there.
Cars and people everywhere, he says, hiking all over the place, even wandering up the wrong canyon, off trail miles up a high clearance 4x4 road.
It made me understand exactly why these people did it. I mean, one of the reasons that we didn't stop them was we all agreed with them.
For someone who says he practices leave no trace, an expert only in expert terrain, he's glad it came down. And for anyone who is buying into the conspiracy theories about how and why the mystery metal monument disappeared, let's set the record straight.
Aliens were not involved in any way, shape, or form in this thing. They had nothing to do with it. Nor was it some secret government project. None of that had anything to do with it. It was clearly an art piece by someone.
An art piece with a wild whirlwind week, now part of the desert's past.
Leave the art to places where art should be and let Mother Nature have her space for art.
Lauren Steinbrecher, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, the monolith isn't the only one making headlines tonight. Overseas in Romania, another mysterious monolith has been found. TMZ reporting it was found on a hill near the Romanian city of Piatra Neamț. Dailymail also reports it's a few meters from a well-known fortress landmark. Unlike the one found in Utah, we're told the monolith in Romania appears to be made of several pieces and has wavy markings.
So this man-made stainless steel monolith was spotted by federal workers who were out counting wildlife. And a nature and wildlife photographer by the name of Ross Bernards went out to photograph the object. While he was there, he got a real good look at this thing, and he said that he believed it was just a piece of man-made art and it was nothing alien or top secret. Mr. Bernards additionally stated that there was a group of unknown individuals who showed up to remove the monolith. They dismantled it and took it away, stating that it was trash. Ross was able to capture a few photographs of these people, so that backs up his story. In fact, shortly after Ross had come out and spoke to the news about what had happened, a video surfaced on TikTok taking credit for the removal of the monolith. It shows unidentified men with their faces blurred out, taking the monolith down. They remove the back of it to confirm that it's empty, and then they haul it away. So this video and Ross Bernard's own photographic evidence support his story. And this is important, and I want to tell you why. I had reached out to Ross to ask him if I could interview him for this episode. Ross got back to me almost immediately, and he was extremely polite, but he had to decline being interviewed. It turns out that after Ross had made his story known about witnessing the removal of this monolith, people on the internet had been sending him hate messages and death threats. Wait, what? People are threatening this guy? What for? I feel like we owe Ross a debt of gratitude. I mean, seriously, if he hadn't witnessed the removal of that monolith, we would probably never even know about it. It would have just disappeared overnight one night, and nobody would be the wiser. But because Mr. Bernards came out with this story and had photographic evidence to back it up, it forced those responsible to also come out. Otherwise, there would have been endless speculation, and it seems clear that these folks just wanted the whole thing to go away. So I'm shocked and I'm disappointed that people would go after Mr. Bernards like they did. Shame on you. Shame on you. That's terrible behavior, folks. I mean, people were calling him an alien plant, an MIB. They were saying he was lying in an interrogation room to get out of trouble, and all kinds of other nonsense. And all of this was in public comments. I can only imagine how horrible these people were being in private. And his story was clearly true. There was more than enough evidence to support it and nothing to refute it. And if you look at his photography webpage, it is exactly what it says that he is, a wilderness and nature photographer. In fact, the only picture that has to do with UFOs or aliens or anything strange at all is his single picture of the Utah monolith. So I'm really disappointed in those folks that tried to target this guy. Y'all ought to be ashamed of yourselves. And if any of my fans or viewers would ever think to act like that, just don't, okay? Don't do it. This is a place for civil discussion. We are on a search for universal truth, and no one should be afraid to speak the truth, okay? Got it? Good. Then let's move on. So the Utah monolith was clearly man-made art, and it was discovered in November 2020. But how long had it been there? Computer, cross-reference the location of the Utah monolith with public satellite imagery on the internet and find the date of the first sighting.
The monolith in Utah first appeared in satellite imagery in late 2015 to early 2016.
So this monolith sat out there for several years before it was discovered. And then shortly after being discovered, it's removed by unknown people, and another one pops up in Romania. Check this out.
Acesta este monolitul de pe bâsca Doamnei de la cetate, obosită, pusă de cineva.
This one looks pretty similar, but it also looks quite different. Look, the one in Romania appears to be hollow like the Utah monolith. But it also has these gnarly welds. And it has these swirl marks on it, like somebody sandblasted this thing or pressure washed it before they installed it. But again, this is definitely a piece of art. I wonder how many more of these things popped up. Computer, were there any other more monolith sightings after the ones in Utah and Romania?
Globally, there were a total of 163 monolith sightings documented between November 18, 2020 and January 13, 2021. The majority of these monoliths were constructed of stainless steel and hollow. However, no two were identical. Some were stenciled with art. Some were stenciled with writing. One monolith was completely black, and one was made of gingerbread.
What? 163 monoliths, one made of gingerbread? Are you kidding me? And another that was solid black like the one in Stanley Kubrick's film? Whoa, what's going on?
There is a 23.8% chance that the recent monolith appearances are related to the human condition known
Thank you,
as...
computer. I was being rhetorical.
Why would you ask a computer a rhetorical question, Manny?
Thank you, computer. That will be all. So in 2 months, we have over 160 monoliths spotted around the world. There's just no way that these are all connected, right? I mean, maybe one or two of them, but it's just too far widespread to be an organized plan of any kind. So why are people all over the world suddenly making these monoliths and setting them up in seemingly random locations? Well, I can't tell you about the motivations of everybody involved, but at least one of these monoliths was placed by a YouTuber by the name of I Did a Thing and discovered on December 8th. Check this out.
How you going? Have you seen this or this? What about this one? By far the best looking one. Well, I did these things. I made all of them. And today, I'm gonna tell you why.
We're not just doing this for money. We're doing it for a load of money.
After doing the monoliths in Utah and Romania, we got a Zoom call from the only Australians to get their very own Netflix show.
Boys, we need a monolith to help promote our Netflix show.
Nice to meet you. Hello.
Let's build a monolith.
Yeah, I like it. It's just in there.
Shall we build a monolith?
Hey, let's build a monolith. Let's go build a monolith.
Let's build a monolith. Have a little kiss later, whatever happens. You know, it's all good.
And by build a monolith, we mean pay someone who knows what they're doing to build one for us.
You bear with me for one sec. You got 1 arm's length. 1 and a half. 1 and a half. So you go. Yeah, 1 and a half.
Yeah, that works.
You put the chair down.
Are you a fucking idiot?
No, I'm saying open the door and get the monolith.
Come on, let's just try. Let's just try.
These guys can't even get the monolith in the car that they rented. How very professional.
Seat now, bro. Heavy. Or at least one. I want to open them now.
Wait for the road to have some chippies.
Anywhere. This is so tightly hooked in.
This is the tightest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, that is not
going anywhere.
No, it's not
This
good.
is the easiest of the monoliths we've done so far.
Mike, don't hit it.
I think this is the first and only monolith that you've done so far, guys. I don't know.
Beautiful.
This is a good chance. No one finds this ever.
I was thinking like just here.
Oh, beautiful.
And then you got the ferns, you know, surrounding it.
Yeah. A triangle of plants.
Oh, perfect.
Have these been planted?
We planted them earlier to mark the spot.
No, that's just.
Before we went to Utah, we put these
Did you
here.
actually?
No.
There it is again. He says Utah, but I don't think so, dude. These guys look like they have no idea what they're doing. I have a very hard time believing that these guys are responsible for the Utah monolith, but they clearly are responsible for the one that appeared on December 8th in Australia. It seems like they just jumped on the monolith bandwagon for the views. Oh, and the money.
And just the two of you, you're looking swole, Zach. You're looking bigger.
That's a f***ing enormous monolith.
Whoa.
Okay. Well, it's not.
Yeah, that was huge.
Wait. Let me pull this back a bit.
Whoa, this fits like a.
It fits like a monolith in a monolith-shaped hole.
I mean, this is fine, right? Wait, guys, hide. Yeah, go. They're right there.
Oh, and look here. They almost get caught red-handed. Amateurs.
I think I think they're gone.
We found this. Everyone just said hot dogs. Huh? We couldn't have been in a worse time. We literally we found the monolith.
Who put all these hand marks on you?
You guys see this? We're getting the monolith dirty. There's a lot of rocks.
These guys are doing all the hard work. I'm just filming Alex drink from a water can.
Yeah.
You know, we've been assuming that this is someone else's marketing stunt. What if it actually was aliens and they're very offended by what we just did?
I feel like it's fun. After the last 5 to 6 weeks of promoting our Netflix show, we're going to take a bit of a break.
Yeah, dude, take a break from your promotion, as you'd call it. I got another name for it.
Oh. Hey, great job, guys. I hope a bird doesn't get on it.
They would, wouldn't
Why don't
they?
they just leave it here? You know, the guys, like, everyone's taken them away. I hope they just leave it here.
It's great. It's great. Good work.
Good work, mate.
Good Monolith.
Yeah,
this is great. Good job, mate.
Well, this is a great Monolith.
Hey, oh, I'm sorry, I stole that one. Is anyone around this side?
But like I said earlier, it's clear that you are responsible for one of these monoliths. However, there is zero evidence that this group had anything to do with any of the other monoliths. In fact, there's plenty of evidence suggesting otherwise. The Australian monolith was placed and then discovered in the same day, but the Utah monolith was in place for 4 or 5 years before it was randomly discovered by federal workers. And then there's the choice of placement for the monoliths. The one in Utah was in such a remote location that nobody noticed it for years.
Don't you? I don't know.
What?
However, the one in Australia was so close to a hiking trail that the crew was almost discovered when they were putting the thing in place. I mean, come on.
Go. They're right there.
Also, these guys had no idea how to even transport something this large. Yet they expect us to believe that they placed 2 other monoliths before this in 2 other countries? How did they transport those alleged monoliths? Did they carry them on pack mules and hire an alien in a UFO to teleport them? Computer, what are the odds that this guy's telling the truth?
How you going? Have you seen this or this? What about this one? By far the best looking one. Well, I did these things. I made all of them. And today, I'm going to tell you why.
Analysis of vocal stress points and pitch variations suggests that there is a 0.08% chance that the statement is true.
Yep, that sounds about right. I don't buy this guy's story for a second either. I think he just made that one monolith to cash in on the wave of sightings from around the world.
And with that, the final monolith was in place, spelling A for
Area 503.
Think of this kind of like a sponsorship, except I'm not getting paid and I'm also going to get arrested.
He pretty much reduced the phenomenon to simple clickbait. Anyhow, that explains one of the monoliths, but not the original Utah monolith or any of the other 160 plus sightings from around the world in just 2 short months. Who started this whole thing by placing that original monolith in the Utah wilderness? And why did they put it there? We may never know, because I'm sure that I Did a Thing won't be the last person to falsely take credit for it. And at this point, I won't believe anybody anymore if they don't have some form of concrete proof backing up their claim. But I am curious to find out why people started putting up monoliths all over the world recently. What's going on out there? What do you guys think? Is it some sort of global wave of internet culture manifesting itself in real life? Is it part of an organized plan? Is it all just people being silly? Or do you think some of these monoliths are alien in nature? Has one of these things popped up near you? Let me know in the comments section down below. I'll be on the lookout for more monolith sightings, and if any new information pops up, I'll be sure to do a follow-up video. Take care out there, everybody.
As always, this has been Manny at Area 503.
and I wish you all the best until we meet again. And I am out of here to continue my search for universal truth.